Alright, I know we've spent a lot of time using the Cinema 4D render engine already, but there's more to it, and I want to really give you an overview of everything you have access to here. So really, we've just touched how to extrude text layers and add bevels to them. But remember, we can work with more than just text layers. So I'm going to rename this comp real quick, Caution, and I'm going to duplicate it, and I'll just rename this comp 2. We'll go into this comp, and let's just disable the text for now. And I want to lower my render settings quite a bit so that this doesn't take so long to get through. So I'm going to turn this down to draft, and now we're nice and grainy, so this will render quicker. Remember that we can not only extrude text layers, but we can also extrude shape layers. So if I were to make, I don't know, a star, and change the size of it so that it was smaller, and then just turned off the stroke for now and made it a greenish yellow color. I can enable 3D on this. I'm now given geometry options for it, and I can extrude it out just like the text. So if I do that, I move it around and rotate it, we have a 3D star. And all of the same bevel options as text layers. So I'm not going to go through all of this again. It's exactly the same as text layers. I just wanted to show you that you can in fact extrude shape layers. So this could be any custom path that you make or any of these primitive shapes. And if you turn the stroke on, it's going to add that stroke and bevel it as well. So we could turn this down to be smaller, put the fill on top of the stroke. That all behaves exactly the same, and the Cinema 4D renderer is just going to extrude it. The same thing goes with the text. We could have added an outline to it with a different color. But in addition to extruding shape and text layers, we can also curve footage layers, remember? So let's add in a new solid, and I'll just make this 1280 by 720, so it's the same size as our comp. Make it 3D, and this is going to be confusing if it's the same color as our wall, so let's change the color to this orangey color. Okay? Now if I look at this from the top down view, it is spaced off of the wall a little bit. I'm going to push the wall back even further in Z space, just so we have a little bit more room. And now let's take this new solid layer and just scale it down a little bit. Okay, so we have a rectangle, and if I rotate it to the side so we can see there's no dimension to it, unfortunately I cannot extrude it if I go into the geometry options. I'm not really sure why, but it is just a limitation of After Effects. You can only extrude shape and text layers. But what you can do with a footage layer is curve it. So if I increase the curvature of this layer, you can see that it's bending it out from the center. Right? The left and right edges are staying, and the back is curving. Now if I turn this quality back off to final, and turn my resolution back up to full, you can see that this is actually very segmented. It's not very smooth, and that's because of the next option, segments. It's only set to 4, which means it's breaking up this rectangle into 1, 2, 3, 4 segments, and then curving it from there. If you want this to be smooth, you're going to really have to crank this up to something probably like 80. And that's going to take longer to render, just like everything else in 3D. But now we have this nice curved layer. And like I said, this can be any kind of footage. So I could just grab this HDRI image and replace it. I held down Option or Alt, clicked and dragged with that layer selected, and that replaced the footage. So here's our curved image layer. I can rotate this around however I want, wait for it to render, and there you have it. Now we do have a Material Options tab, which gives us all the same options that we had on our text layers. So we could turn Cast Shadows on, turn the specular intensity all the way off if we don't like the way that it's affecting the image. All of those things still apply. So if you want to curve a layer, that's how you can do it.